I sat in Chloe Sterling's penthouse office, a chill seeping into my bones despite the luxurious leather couch. Outside the enormous floor-to-ceiling windows, the city skyline churned like a sea of clouds. Inside, the air conditioning was cranked, and the space was filled with an expensive, aloof perfume. Chloe pushed a document across the polished desk toward me. Her voice was devoid of warmth, like she was reading a dry business report that had nothing to do with her. Sign it. The mansion in West Side, the spiker in the garage, and $50 million in cash. They're all yours. My gaze peeled away from the gilded letters spelling divorce settlement on the document and landed on Chloe's immaculate face. 3 years, and her face was just as I'd first seen it. Exquisite cold, like a flawless piece of polished ice. Impossible to warm up. 3 years of an agreement-based marriage. I played the perfect trophy husband. To the outside world, I was the enigmatic spouse of Sterling Enterprises CEO, appearing out of nowhere. Internally, I was a roommate in her mansion, not even allowed to touch the master bedroom door. Every day, I'd wake up on time, prepare her warm lemon water at the perfect temperature, watch her leave, then face the empty, cold house alone. I'd attend endless, boring corporate galas, fending off countless predatory suitors for her, then wait quietly in a corner for her to finish her queen-like networking before driving her home. I thought I could melt that iceberg. Now, it was clear I was wrong. Icebergs don't melt. I was tired. So tired. Instead of reaching for the expensive pen, I leaned back into the soft leather couch, finding a more comfortable position. Not enough, I said softly. Chloe's delicate brows furrowed almost imperceptibly. It was the first emotion I'd seen her display today that wasn't pure ice. In her eyes, I'd always been compliant, discreet, never asking for too much. What do you want? $1 billion. I held up a single finger, my tone as calm as if I were haggling for a pound of apples at the market. Give me $1 billion, and I'll sign immediately. I'll vanish without a trace. I guarantee you'll never see me or hear from me or the Sterling family again. The air instantly solidified. Chloe's assistant, Beth, standing behind her, gaped, almost wondering if she'd misheard. $1 billion? How dare I ask for that? For 3 years, I'd eaten their food, used their resources. Now, on the way out, I was making an outrageous demand. Chloe's eyes finally changed. For the first time, those deep, unreadable pools held a sharp, scrutinizing gaze. She stared at me, as if trying to discern something from my overly handsome, yet perpetually lazy face. Was I trying to express dissatisfaction this way? Or was this a final attempt to extort a lump sum from my lost youth over the past 3 years? I met her gaze without flinching. My eyes were clear and frank, devoid of greed or anger. There was only the weariness of profound relief. Chloe, let's do some accounting. I continued, my voice still even. For 3 years, how many times did I shield you from internal family pressure for arranged marriages? How many public occasions did I play the role of a convenient background so you could focus on business? How many clingy suitors did I handle for you? Take Preston Hayes from the Hayes Group, for example. If I hadn't accidentally gotten him so trashed he ended up in the ER, he'd probably still be harassing you, right? All this emotional value and problem solving I provided, if we calculate its commercial worth over 3 years. Is $1 billion really too much? Chloe's breath hitched slightly. She had to admit I was right. In the past 3 years, my presence had indeed saved her from countless headaches, allowing her to fully immerse herself in her work and firmly grasp the reins of Sterling Enterprises. I was like a perfect, invisible shield, quiet, yet effective. She thought I loved her, and so I did it willingly. Turns out, in my mind, it had all been a transaction. An inexplicable irritation welled up inside her. Chloe didn't want to argue about it any further. She just wanted to end this, sever this relationship that had been built on an agreement from the very beginning. Fine. The word was forced through her teeth. You'll get it. She picked up the phone, dialed her private financial director, Mr. Davis, her voice returning to its usual coldness. Transfer $1 billion to Ryan Stone's account within 10 minutes. She hung up, and the office fell silent. I picked up the pen and signed my name at the bottom of the settlement. The signature was swift, without a trace of hesitation. My phone vibrated. A bank transfer notification popped up. a long string of zeros that made my eyes blur. I stood up, pushed the signed agreement back across the desk, and offered her the most genuine smile I'd worn in 3 years. It's been a pleasure doing business with you, Chloe. I wish you all the best. With that, I turned and walked out, my steps light without looking back. The moment the door closed, Chloe looked at the agreement. Her heart inexplicably tightened, and a hollow feeling instantly swept through her. She reached for the water glass on her desk, wanting a drink, only to find her hand trembling slightly. Why? It shouldn't be like this. She'd gotten rid of a burden. She should feel relieved. But why did it feel like a piece had been carved out her chest? Leaving the Sterling Enterprises Tower, I stood on the bustling street, taking a deep breath of exhaust-fumed air. Freedom! I pulled out my phone, looking at the astronomical sum, and my smile grew wider. I didn't go to the West Side mansion, nor did I get into the spiker I'd never once touched. I hailed a cab and headed straight for a place I'd had my eye on for a while, the older downtown district. No skyscrapers here, just weathered apartment buildings and winding alleyways steeped in history. In a dusty real estate office, I paid cash, far below market value, for a 6-story building with a small courtyard. The building was old, but the structure was solid. The ground floor had 2 storefronts, and floors 2 to 6 housed over a dozen apartments of varying sizes, most of them empty. The real estate agent, seeing a young man pay cash without batting an eye, grinned from ear to ear. "Kid, you got an eye for opportunity. This building's a bit old, but rent it out, and you'll be living easy every month." I nodded, satisfied. This was my dream life. To be an ordinary landlord, wearing flip-flops, collecting rent from door to door, then chilling on a rocking chair in the courtyard, sipping tea, playing games. No corporate galas, no fake networking, no ice queen I could never melt. The greatest wisdom in life, I thought, was knowing when to stop struggling and just lie flat. I spent a day hiring people to clean the entire building, then scoured secondhand stores for cheap, practical furniture, setting up the largest room on the 6th floor as my new home. That evening, I lay back in my creaky rocking chair, gazing at the old oak tree in the courtyard, sipping a cheap beer. I felt like I'd reached the pinnacle of existence. "Ryan, you really moved here." I looked up. A girl in a white dress, wearing black-rimmed glasses and clutching a thick quantum physics textbook, stood there, her face a mask of disbelief. "Sarah Chun, my childhood friend, the super brain from the next alley over, currently pursuing her Ph.D. in theoretical physics." "Hey, Sarah, neighbors now. Go easy on me." I waved lazily. Sarah hurried in, pushing up her glasses. Her eyes, behind the lenses, gleamed with both intelligence and confusion. She surveyed the rundown building, then glanced at my outfit, which probably cost less than $100, and fell into deep thought. "Ryan, did you and Chloe, that woman, break up?" Sarah asked cautiously. "Yep, peaceful split," I yawned. Sarah's brow furrowed tighter. She didn't buy it. Based on her analysis of a strong businesswoman like Chloe, a peaceful split was almost impossible. Plus, why would I be so down and out that I'd live in a place like this? Her brain began to whir, various models and data flashing through her mind. The Sterling family is powerful. Ryan must have been forced out with nothing. He didn't choose to disappear, but to hide in this inconspicuous part of the older downtown district. This is great reclusion in the city. He bought this seemingly dilapidated building as a base to rise again. The location of this building, at the intersection of the old and new city districts, seems remote, but actually controls the future development artery of the city. This is a strategic dormancy. His cheap clothes are to sharpen his resolve, to not forget past humiliation. Having worked all this out, Sarah's eyes instantly changed. It was a complex look, a mix of concern, admiration, and firm resolve. "Ryan, I get it." She nodded heavily. "Don't worry. No matter how hard it gets, I'll support you. Need some seed money? I just got a national scholarship." I almost choked on my beer. Get it? What did she get? Had quantum mechanics tangled up her brain again? No, I've got money. I quickly waved my hand. I just want to be a lazy bum now, living off my laurels. Far from relaxing, Sarah looked even more concerned. "I understand," she nodded emphatically again. "Lazy bum is your disguise. Living off your laurels is a smokescreen for your enemies. Ryan, you're still the same. You like to bear all the pressure yourself. Don't worry, I'll protect your disguise for you." With a knowing look, she turned and ran off, leaving me utterly bewildered in the breeze. What in the world was that? I shook my head, deciding to ignore the overly imaginative genius, and went back to enjoying my chilled-out life. However, I didn't know it yet, but the trouble had just begun. The next morning, I was woken by a furious banging on the door. Sporting bedhead and wearing my boxers, I groggily opened the courtyard gate. Standing, there was a young man dressed in designer clothes, hair slicked back, a smug look on his face. "Blake Sterling, Chloe's younger brother. Ryan, you useless piece of trash. How dare you extort $1 billion from my sister?" Blake roared, seeing my disheveled state. "You deserve it. I'm telling you, cough up the money immediately and get out of this city, or you'll regret it." My brow furrowed. Interrupting my sleep was an unforgivable sin. "Spit it out or beat it. Don't bark at my door," I said, not bothering to argue, turning to close the door. Blake slammed his hand against the door, his face flushed. "You dare curse at me? You, a parasite kicked out by our family. What right do you have?" His voice cut off abruptly, because I grabbed a broom from behind the door. It was just an ordinary bamboo broom, but in my hands, it exuded an inexplicable deterrence. "I'll count to 3, I said softly, but with an undeniable chill. 1. Blake's heart quailed under my gaze. He remembered 3 years ago, when I first came to the Sterling house, looking just as lazy. He'd look down on me then, 2, bringing a few bodyguards to put me in my place, only for me to effortlessly use some bizarre moves to send the big guy sprawling, leaving him to faceplant in the process. From then on, I'd been a psychological trauma for him. 2. My voice continued. Blake's legs went weak. He knew I wasn't kidding. This guy usually looked like a half-asleep cat, but when truly provoked, he was scarier than a tiger. You just wait." Leaving a threat hanging in the air, Blake stumbled backward several steps, practically fleeing in a panic. I yawned, tossed the broom back behind the door, closed it, and headed back for another nap. I didn't notice the bright eyes watching everything from behind the second-floor window. At noon, I was lured awake by the smell of food. I stepped out of my room to find a small table in the hallway laden with 3 dishes and a soup, steaming hot. A short-haired woman in a tight sports tank top, revealing healthy tan skin and sculpted muscles, leaned against the opposite door, raising an eyebrow at me. "New landlord?" Amaya Rodriguez, the tenant on the second floor. Her voice was crisp and spirited. "I saw you chasing that pretty boy off earlier. Not bad, you've got some moves." Only then did I remember the agent saying there was a female tenant on the second floor, a fitness instructor. "Just helping out," I said, not bothering with formalities, sitting down and picking up my chopsticks. "You make this? Consider it a housewarming gift for the new landlord." Maya folded her arms, her eyes fixed on me. "But I'm curious. When you grabbed that broom, there was a subtle drop and rotation in your wrist. That's a force-dispelling technique. You've trained." I forked a mouthful of spicy stir-fry, hissing at the heat, and mumbled, "Trained what? Sweeping, maybe?" Maya chuckled, clearly unconvinced. She'd grown up in a martial arts family, with sharp eyes. That seemingly casual move of mine contained the essence of using skill to overcome brute force. And my calm demeanor and steady gaze in the face of Blake's provocation, that wasn't something an ordinary person possessed. Another hidden master. Maya's competitive spirit ignited. She loved sparring with masters. "Landlord, I haven't paid rent this month. How about this? Let's spar. If you win, next month's rent is double. If I win, you give me a month free. Deal." My mouth was full of food, and I shook my head vigorously. "Are you kidding? Fighting is exhausting, and I could get hurt. Wouldn't it be better to get more sleep with that energy?" No fighting, I mumbled. Eating, watching me devour my food. Maya's fighting spirit intensified. In her eyes, my ravenous eating wasn't hunger, but a blatant disregard for her as a challenger. I simply disdained to act. "Good. The more he resists, the more I'll force his hand," Maya silently vowed. Over the next few days, my chill life was utterly disrupted. My childhood friend, Sarah Chun, arrived like clockwork every day with various tonics, claiming they were to help me build up my strength for grand ventures. She'd also mysteriously hand me a stack of printed documents, titled Feasibility Analysis Report on the Future Development Potential of the Older Downtown District over the Next 10 Years. I casually used the report to prop up a wobbly table leg. My tenant, Maya Rodriguez, transformed into a challenge fiend. If I was sunbathing, she'd practice her martial arts nearby, her movements strong and fluid. If I was watering plants, she'd perform an inverted split, her flexibility astounding. If I went out for groceries, she'd trail behind me, occasionally launching a sneak attack, only for me to instinctively turn, step aside, and evade her with various strange postures. I was fed up. My evasive moves were purely the instinctive reactions I developed over 3 years of avoiding overly enthusiastic socialites at corporate parties. But in Maya's eyes, these were the pinnacle of returning to simplicity grandmaster footwork. Her gaze toward me had shifted from master to grandmaster. One evening, I finally couldn't take it anymore and decided to escape for some peace. I strolled to a nearby riverfront park, found a bench, and finally felt the world quiet down. However, not long after I lay down, a suppressed sob reached me from behind a nearby tree. I hated trouble and initially planned to pretend I hadn't heard anything, but the intermittent, kitten-like whimpers were truly annoying. I sighed, got up, and walked over. Behind the tree, a girl, completely covered by a hat and mask, crouched on the ground, her shoulders shaking with sobs. "Hey, what are you crying about in the middle of the night?" I asked. The girl jumped, abruptly lifting her head, revealing a pair of panicked eyes, tears still clinging to her lashes. "You, who are you?" "Live nearby." I pointed at myself. "If you keep crying, the patrol guard will be here." The girl seemed startled and quickly covered her mouth, daring not to make another sound. Seeing her pitiful state, a bit of compassion stirred in me. I pulled a pack of tissues from my pocket and offered them. "Wipe your eyes." She hesitated, then took them. Just then, a commotion of footsteps and shouts echoed in the distance. "Over there! Quick, chase her!" The girl's body stiffened, her eyes wide with fear. She instinctively clutched my sleeve. "Please, help me. Don't let them find me." Before I could react, the girl nimbly hid behind me. Several men carrying long guns and short cannons, cameras with telephoto lenses, rushed over. They paused when they saw me. "Hey, buddy, did you see a girl in a hat run by?" the lead paparazzi asked. I glanced back. The girl was desperately shaking her head at me, her eyes pleading. I sighed. "Trouble." I pointed to another exit of the park. "She ran that way." The paparazzi didn't doubt me, thanked me, and scurried off in that direction. Only after they were far away did the girl breathe a sigh of relief, stepping out from behind me and removing her mask and hat. A face of exquisite beauty, frequently seen on entertainment headlines and billboards, appeared before me. Ashley Lane, the A-list celebrity. I paused. Of course, I recognized that face. Chloe occasionally had her on the cover of financial magazines. Rumor had it she was incredibly wealthy and had even opened her own studio. Ashley noticed that I only paused for a moment, not screaming or pulling out my phone like others would, and a flicker of surprise crossed her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. I had a fight with my family and ran away." "Oh," I replied, turning to leave. "Wait," Ashley called out. Don't you recognize me?" "Yeah, big star, right?" I yawned. "But recognizing you won't earn me an extra buck in rent. I need to go back to sleep. Good night." Ashley was utterly dumbfounded. It was the first time she'd ever encountered a man so indifferent to her. He looked at her like any ordinary passerby, even with a hint of annoyance. This feeling was novel. I have nowhere to go," Ashley said, gathering her courage as she watched my retreating back. "I'm broke and my phone's smashed." Can you let me stay for a night? I can pay you once I contact my agent." I stopped, turning to look at her. Taking in an A-list celebrity? How much trouble would that be? Tomorrow's headlines would probably scream, "Shocking. A-list star spends night at mysterious man's house." I was about to refuse when my stomach inconveniently growled. I remembered I hadn't had dinner yet. Rent's $300 a night, includes utilities, no meals. "Want it or not?" I asked. Ashley nodded vigorously. "Want it." And so, my chill life gained another troublesome tenant. I settled Ashley into a small, empty room on the first floor, then went to the kitchen and cooked 2 packs of ramen. While I placed one bowl in front of her, this superstar, accustomed to gourmet meals, looked at the few sad vegetables and a lonely half-fried egg in the bowl, and her eyes actually reddened. What too simple? I raised an eyebrow. No, not at all. Ashley sniffled, picked up her chopsticks, and began to eat in small bites. This is the first hot meal I've had since I ran away from home. I said nothing, just slurped my noodles. I didn't know that night. The casual bowl of ramen and a calm, indifferent look had planted a strange seed in the heart of this A-list star. She felt there was a unique charm about this man. He wasn't like the men who constantly surrounded her, their eyes full of desire and calculation. His gaze was clean, so clean that it was as if nothing in the world could pique his interest. He must be a man with a story, a wise man who had seen through the world's glamour and chosen to retreat into anonymity. Meanwhile, in Chloe Sterling's Sterling Enterprises CEO office, Chloe looked at the report her assistant handed her, her face growing darker and darker. You're saying Ryan used that $1 billion to buy a rundown building in the older downtown district? Yes, Ms. Sterling. And, according to our investigation, Mr. Blake went to see him today and seemed to have returned with his tail between his legs, the assistant replied, cautiously. Chloe's fingertips tapped lightly on the desk. She didn't understand. What exactly was Ryan trying to do? With his abilities, $1 billion could make significant waves in either the financial market or industrial investment. Yet he chose the most incomprehensible path, becoming a landlord of a broken-down building. It didn't make sense. Unless a thought flashed through her mind. The older downtown district. She immediately opened her computer and pulled up the city's latest development plan. When she saw a red subway line plan cutting right through that old district and a crucial plan station less than 300 yards from my building, her breath caught. This plan had only been finalized 3 days ago and was still highly confidential. How could he have known? Had he seen through all of this long ago? He wasn't gambling. He was planning. He used $1 billion to buy a prime location whose value would multiply by at least 10, even dozens of times in the future. What a masterstroke. What an ingenious scheme. Chloe's mind was in turmoil. She had always thought I was smart, discerning, but not overly ambitious. Now it seemed she was terribly wrong. It wasn't that I lacked ambition. My ambition was so vast she had never seen through it. For these 3 years, I hadn't been playing the trophy husband. I'd been lying in wait, observing, waiting for a chance to skyrocket. And she, with her own hands, had given me that opportunity. Ms. Sterling, there's one more thing. The assistant's voice was hesitant. Our people saw A-list celebrity Ashley Lane enter Rhinestone's building tonight, and she hasn't come out yet. Smash! The pen in Chloe's hand snapped. An emotion she'd never experienced before, like a volcanic eruption, instantly swept through her. That emotion was called jealousy. My life as a landlord completely devolved into a farce. Sarah Chen's strategic investment analysis reports grew thicker by the day, analyzing everything from the older downtown district's development potential to the potential impact of global macroeconomic trends on my rundown building. Maya Rodriguez's martial arts challenges escalated daily, from barehanded combat to using pots, pans, and anything else as weapons. Several times, she almost demolished the kitchen. Ashley Lane completely settled in. She publicly claimed she was experiencing life and seeking creative inspiration. And every day, wearing her mask, she'd help me clean, buy groceries, water plants, and even tried her hand at cooking. Though her culinary creations were akin to bioweapons, she enjoyed herself immensely. This truly put me through the ringer. Every day, I not only had to guard against Maya's sneak attacks and endure Sarah's intellectual bombardments, but also deal with the countless paparazzi and fans Ashley attracted. My little courtyard entrance became a tourist attraction. Mr. Stone, what is your relationship with Miss Lane? Mr. Stone, rumors say you're a reclusive martial arts grandmaster. Is that true? Mr. Stone, investment firms are analyzing you as the new god of investment. What's your response? I was trapped at the entrance, a pounding headache developing. No relationship. Not a grandmaster. Don't know anything about investing. I tore my hair, almost on the verge of a breakdown. I'm just a lazy bum who wants to live off his laurels. Please, just leave me alone. However, my frantic appearance was, in everyone's eyes, interpreted in an entirely different light. To the reporters, it was the irritated rage of a big shot whose identity had been exposed. To Sarah, it was the helpless frustration after his plan was revealed. To Maya, it was the aloofness and detachment of a grandmaster unwilling to be tainted by the mundane world. To Ashley, it was his gentleness and responsibility, protecting her by not letting her get caught in the storm. In an instant, outlandish titles like Hidden Billionaire, Martial Arts Grandmaster, and Investment God were all heaped upon me. And what triggered all this was a piece of official news. The city government officially announced the older downtown district's redevelopment plan and the subway line map. My rundown building, overnight, transformed from an unwanted brick into a coveted golden goose. Its value multiplied by more than 20 times and was still climbing. The entire city was in an uproar. Everyone believed it was a myth. A man with $1 billion severance package leveraged it into a multi-billion-dollar fortune. Blake's jaw almost dropped to the floor. He no longer dared to bother me. Instead, he started bragging to everyone. See that? That's my ex-brother-in-law. I always knew he wasn't ordinary. At Sterling Enterprises, Chloe watched the news conference replay, speechless for a long time. She had lost, utterly defeated. She thought she had granted me a new path, but she never imagined I had simply used her hand to retrieve the startup capital that was rightfully mine, then soared to a height she now had to look up to. What had these 3 years of marriage even been? A joke. For the first time, she doubted herself. I, in the eye of the storm, was oblivious to all this. I was wearing an eye mask and earplugs, trying to snatch a peaceful nap amidst the encircling of 3 women. Suddenly, the courtyard gate was kicked open with a loud bang. A man reeking of alcohol, with fierce eyes, stormed in with a few thugs. "Ashley Lane, you bitch! Get out here!" the man roared. It was Chad, Ashley's ex-boyfriend, a rich, spoiled brat, who had been terminated by Ashley's agency a few days ago and harbored a grudge. The faces of the 3 women in the courtyard changed. Ashley's face went pale with fright, and she ducked behind me. Maya instantly stepped forward, adopting a fighting stance. "Want to cause trouble? You'll have to get past my fists." Sarah, meanwhile, swiftly pulled out her phone, dialing 911 while calmly analyzing. 5 opponents. The leader is highly agitated, in an irrational state. Direct conflict risk is extremely high. Optimal solution: stall for time until the police arrive. Chad completely ignored them. His eyes were fixed on Ashley, and on her hand clinging to my sleeve. "Oh, so this is why you broke up with me, for this pretty boy." Jealousy distorted his face. "Today, I'm breaking his legs. Get him." The thugs swarmed forward. Maya let out a battle cry and lunged, instantly engaging one of the thugs. But they outnumbered her, and she quickly found herself on the defensive. Sarah, wielding her thick copy of A Brief History of Time as a weapon, tried to sneak attack, but a thug easily pushed her aside, sending her tumbling to the ground. Seeing a thug's fist about to smash into Sarah's face, I sighed. So much for that nap. I moved. No one saw how I moved. Everyone only saw a blur. The thug rushing at Sarah flew backward as if struck by a speeding truck, crashing against the courtyard wall, sliding down, and passing out. The thug, grappling with Maya, cried out as I lightly touched his wrist, which twisted at an unnatural angle. The other 2 thugs didn't even have time to react before I kicked each of them, sending them sprawling and groaning on the ground, unable to get up. The entire process took less than 3 seconds. The courtyard fell utterly silent. Maya's mouth hung open in an O shape. Her proudly honed combat skills were like child's play compared to me. It wasn't skill. It was pure, overwhelming power and speed. Sarah adjusted her glasses, her eyes behind the lenses now filled not with admiration, but a reverence bordering on seeing a god. All her physical models broke down. This wasn't science. Ashley gazed at my broad back, her eyes shining with an unprecedented sense of security. I clapped my hands, as if I'd merely shooed away a few flies. I walked over to the terrified Chad. "Now, can you get lost?" Chad's legs gave out, and a foul smell emanated from his pants. He'd wet himself in fear. He scrambled to his feet and scurried out, practically crawling away. I turned back to the stunned trio of women, rubbing my temples. Just to clarify, I'm just unusually strong. However, no one believed me anymore. Ryan, Sarah said, trembling. Your speed just now, based on my preliminary estimates, exceeded the limits of human dynamic vision. Who? Who exactly are you? Grandmaster. Maya's eyes gleamed, and she gave a standard martial arts bow. Please accept me as your disciple. Ryan. Ashley's voice was tearful and filled with emotion. Thank you for protecting me. I looked at these three wildly different, yet equally over-imaginative women, feeling that my path to a chill life seemed to be drifting further and further away. I looked up at the sky and let out a long sigh. I really just want to be a slacker. My lament, however, sounded to them like the Grandmaster's helpless sigh at the noisy mortal world. The farthest distance in life isn't between life and death, but between me wanting to chill and you all thinking I'm plotting something grand. Night fell. The small courtyard, bustling all day, finally returned to calm. The police had come, taken statements, and escorted the thugs away. The reporters, who had arrived upon hearing the news, were blocked by Ashley Lane's frantic agent team. Sarah and Maya discreetly returned to their respective rooms, but I knew they weren't asleep. They were probably peeking through their windows, observing me with entirely new eyes. Ashley had been picked up by her agent, but before she left, her gaze was lingering, as if trying to engrave my image into her heart. I lay alone in the courtyard's rocking chair, gazing at the moon, finally letting out a sigh of relief. The world was quiet. I closed my eyes, ready to enjoy this rare tranquility. Drip! A cold drop of liquid landed on my forehead. Rain? I opened my eyes, only to see an enlarged, cold yet stunningly beautiful face, inches from mine. Chloe Sterling. She had appeared in the courtyard at some point, leaning over me. That cold drop of liquid was a tear sliding from her eye. My heart inexplicably skipped a beat. I'd known Chloe for 4 years, been married for 3, and had never seen her cry. What are you doing here? I sat up, my voice returning to a detached tone. Chloe didn't answer my question, just stared at me. Her gaze complex, shock, regret, confusion, and a hint of an emotion I couldn't decipher. Ryan, did I misjudge you before? Her voice was hoarse. Ms. Sterling, you jest. I pulled at the corner of my mouth. You've always been spot on. I was just an ordinary guy trying to leech off your family, and now that I have the money, I'm perfectly satisfied. No. Chloe, cut me off. You're not. Your investment foresight, even my father can't match it. Your skills, even my top bodyguards can't replicate. Who exactly are you? I looked at her and suddenly found it somewhat amusing. Back then, when I genuinely cared for her, she took it for granted, seeing it as my obligation. Now, all I wanted was to be far away from her, and she'd come running, asking who I was. Who I am is no longer relevant to you, Ms. Sterling. I stood up, ready to go inside. It's late. Please go home. I'm not leaving. Chloe grabbed my hand. Her hand was cold and trembling slightly. Ryan, let's get back together. She summoned the greatest courage of her life to say those words. I froze. I looked at Chloe as if she were a stranger. Ms. Sterling, are you running a fever? I reached out to check her forehead, but she grabbed my hand. I'm perfectly lucid. For the first time, Chloe's eyes held a plea. I was wrong. I didn't appreciate you before. I didn't understand you. Please come back. I'll give you half of Sterling Enterprises. No, I'll give you everything I have. I just want you to make me lemon water every morning and wait for me outside when I'm in meetings like you used to. As she spoke, her voice caught in her throat. I fell silent. I looked at this woman, once so high and mighty, now humbly pleading before me. I felt no vengeful satisfaction, only a sense of bewilderment. If only you had known then. Why now? I gently pulled my hand free from hers. Chloe, we can't go back, I said calmly. I'm not the same Ryan anymore. Now, I just want to be a landlord. Chloe swayed. Her face instantly drained of all color. She watched my retreating back, a decisive figure, just as he had been in the office that day. Ryan, she suddenly remembered something, pulled a document from her bag, her voice urgent, filled with a last glimmer of hope. Look at this. Look at this before you decide. I stopped, turned, and took the document. It was a divorce settlement, identical to the one I'd signed, except the space for Chloe's signature was blank. What does this mean? I frowned. A hint of cunning, a triumphant glimmer, appeared on Chloe's face, like a negotiator who had finally caught their opponent in a loophole. The one we signed? I never submitted it to the Civil Affairs Department. So, Ryan. She articulated each word slowly, her voice soft, yet it exploded in my ears like thunder. Legally speaking, we never actually divorced. The courtyard gate creaked open. Sarah Chun, wearing pink rabbit pajamas and rubbing her eyes, walked out, holding a tablet displaying streams of dense data. Ryan, I just modeled and analyzed the sound wave and heart rate fluctuations and detected a strong emotional clash in the courtyard. According to my calculations, your probability of rejecting her is 73.4%, but considering sunk costs and path dependency, your ultimate probability of compromising is... She didn't finish her sentence. The second-floor window was abruptly flung open. Maya Rodriguez, in her tight sports tank top, poked her head out, her eyes as sharp as an eagle's. Don't listen to her crazy calculations. Ryan, be a man and be decisive. What do you need a woman who wants to come back whenever she feels like it for? If you dare get back together with her, I'll never pay rent again. Just then, a black SUV screeched to a halt at the alley entrance. The car door flew open, and Ashley Lane, who had just been picked up not long ago, still in her elaborate stage costume, and without even having removed her makeup, rushed into the courtyard, her gown swirling, followed by a frantic retinue of assistants and bodyguards. Ryan, she burst into the courtyard, gasping for breath, tears in her eyes. My fans told me she came to see you. Don't believe her. She's only interested in your value. I'm the one who truly loves you. I'm willing to quit Hollywood for you and stay here forever and cook you ramen. In an instant, the small courtyard became a scene where four wildly different, yet equally stunning women surrounded me. Chloe Sterling, wielding the legal weapon of an undivorced status, her eyes full of certainty. Sarah Chun, armed with big data analysis, attempting to offer the optimal solution. Maya Rodriguez, holding rent hostage, her stance clear. Ashley Lane, performing a heartfelt declaration of retirement for love. I looked at this scene, which was nothing short of a chaotic showdown, then up at the moon, feeling my temples throb. I took a deep breath and slowly opened my mouth. Can you guys just talk amongst yourselves first about who's making me a late-night snack? I am hungry.